When the G7 and European Union imposed restrictions on Russian oil sales in December 2022, Moscow turned to new customers to offset its losses. Discounted prices drew India away from Middle Eastern suppliers, and by 2025, India went from a negligible buyer of Russian crude oil to the second largest, only behind China. The US and EU have taken notice.
We severely constrain Russia's options.
In July, the EU took direct aim at India's Russian oil trading when it sanctioned Nayara Energy, an Indian refinery part owned by Rosneft. The next month, US President Donald Trump singled out India over its Russian crude imports.
On oil, they're the second largest. They're very close to China.
Raising its tariffs to 50% to punish trade that he said had helped the Russian war machine. Western sanctions on Rosneft, Lukoil, and Gazprom Neft have scrambled the markets since. But a Kharon review of trade records traced two common, often overlapping patterns in how Russian oil has flowed to India. The first was trade directly between Russian state-owned enterprises, or SOEs, and Indian SOEs. In one example we found, trade records showed that a company majority owned by India's largest state-owned oil producer received at least $2 billion worth of petroleum oils from Gazprom Neft, which is a subsidiary of Russia's majority state-owned energy giant, Gazprom. The second pattern we found was the use of third-country brokers and logistics operators, often based in Dubai, acting as middlemen between Russian sellers and Indian buyers. Nexus Oil Trading FCCO, for example, received at least $4 billion worth of crude from Rosneft, then sold Russian blend crude to majority state-owned Indian petroleum companies. India operates major refineries that turn imported oil into fuels, such as gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel that it sends to the EU and the US. That opens up the risk that Western companies are buying Indian fuels that may be derived partly from Russian crude, despite increasing measures to restrict Russia's oil trade directly.